Hey, I'm Michelle. I make these videos so that I can share with you guys any successes, any fails that I've had throughout my journey of reaching financial freedom and ultimate wealth for myself and my family and my friends. And you're here on this journey with me as we're learning, and just so that we could win together, we could support each other together, and we could cheer each other on while we're on this journey. This video is going to be about, so far, my results of setting up my first rental arbitrage. It has been 1 week. I'm going to share with you my experience thus far, what's been my results in 1 week, the setup, a rough setup of how I got everything going. First reason, and that is, did this even make sense? Before I even was going to set this up or get started with rental arbitrage, I wanted to make sure this was going to make sense. So for those of you who don't know what rental arbitrage is, that's basically when you find a landlord that is going to lease a property to you, an individual or as a entity like an LLC, for example. You don't want to make this a surprise to a landlord. You want to lie. You don't want there to be any kind of confusion. Just, hey, can I rent out your apartment? Because I'm going to be renting it out to other people for my intentions of doing our short-term rentals or mid-term rentals, things like that. So that's from the beginning. That's what rental arbitrage is. And when I was trying to see if it was going to make sense or not, how I started out was by doing a market analysis of the area of where I was planning to set up this rental arbitrage. So I was looking into the area and I was seeing, for example, how much were competitors charging per night? What were their cleaning fees looking like? What was the demand looking like in the area? What did the competition look like, period? Like, what did their photos look like? The host, who was hosting, did they have prior reviews, like any experience to hosting, for example? Who was going to be basically my demographic? So the best way to advertise my listing. Am I going to be targeting professionals? Am I going to be targeting families that are visiting in the area? Nurses, because it's close to a hospital, things like that. Didn't make sense. Yes, I ran the numbers. I looked to see who my competition was, what it was going to look like from the jump, from the get-go, and I was like, great. The numbers look like they're going to make sense. I'm going to make a great profit. Let's go ahead and move forward with this. For the demand part, when you're trying to see the demand, a typical thing that I would do is I would look at my competitors' calendar availability to see if they're like 80% booked throughout the month, if they're booked until into the next month, if they're not even booked for the rest of the month, kind of thing like that. And another way that I'm able to see the demand, I pay a monthly subscriptions to a platform named Price Labs, and on there I have access to data that gives me like what the demand is looking like in this particular neighborhood. So you can go that route. You could go the AirDNA route as well. There's options for you to figure out the demand in the area and to see if people are looking to even stay there. Step of getting everything set up for the rental arbitrage was the legalities, the legal stuff. Lease agreement written up and agreeing to terms with the landlord. So for example, what is going to be the length of this lease? Is this going to be a month to month where you have 30 days to just tell me, hey, Michelle, never mind, I don't want you doing this anymore. You have 30 days and the lease is going to be terminated. Or is this going to be a lease for 6 months, for 12 months? Who's responsible for what? There's tenant responsibilities and landlord responsibilities, stating that you're going to be subletting, the utilities, how that's going to be paid for. You're going to be renting it out too, so the subletting aspect, and also are they going to be renting it out to you yourself as an individual or an entity, like I mentioned in the beginning, and I went the LLC route. So I have an LLC, I'm setting this up like a business is going to be leasing out the property. Next thing is staging, prep. Whew. For those of you who have already set up your first listing, you already know the whoof that came out of my breath. If you do your own staging and your own setting of the furniture, picking out the decor, just putting everything together to get your listing staged and ready for your first day, wow, what a runaround. And I mean, like, so many people choose to go their own way with like where they go, how they make it easier on themselves, hiring out, doing all that stuff. I just go ahead as a crazy lady and I love doing this stuff and I just take it all on my own with any friends and family who are willing to help with me, which I'm very blessed. I have a lot of friends and family that are helping me and on my side. I love you guys if you're listening. Staging. So luckily I had a lot of furniture to work with this property and specifically. They left me a lot of furniture that I was able to go for the theme of functional but cute. So it's not modern, it's not brand new, it's not newly updated, blee boo blah, year 3000. It's more so like, hey, the intention here is that this is a convenient stay. You got everything that you would want for amenities as a traveler. The convenient aspect, it works, it's there for you, it's going to be durable, it's reliable. That's what a lot of people care for, and that it's clean. So I just wanted to mention that because you don't have to go and spend a whole bunch of big bucks for your first property. Yeah, you could go on Facebook Marketplace. You could even go on Craigslist. I never done that, but Facebook Marketplace I have done. I go to Hobby Lobby all the time. I go to Goodwill. I go to Big Lots. I do with my coupons. Like, you can make this a fun thing and getting things that are refurbished, or I refurbish them myself. I completely respect the people who are like, hey, let's just make everything brand new. You get everything top notch, high quality, it won't break on you, is long term, all that. I completely agree with you. I'm just one that I like to see, I make it functional, I make sure that everything works, I work with what I have, and then I make profits, and then I reinvest in the business, of course. But you got to start somewhere. And the money you're going to be spending. So yeah, a good amount of money is going to be needed up front. There's things that you work out with a landlord when it comes to like the first month's rent, utilities, the security deposit, but like flat out of the gate, I had to drop $3,000 on the first month's rent and on the security deposit. So it's not an expense when it comes down to the security deposit, because of course you're going to be getting that back. And honestly, these are investments, not really expenses, because this is a business and you got to invest in your business. Let's just go through some of the basic expenses that you need when you're setting up. So a photo shoot, that could cost you from like $300 to $400, of course, depending on the size of your listing, depending on the photographer, how they're staging it, and all that whatnot. I had hired a photographer for all of my listings in the past, but in a position where I had the opportunity to do it all myself because no one was available in the short time request of needing this this photo shoot. So I had the lighting, I had the stage, I had all the decor, all the things I needed to just get it all fancy for this photo shoot. I have some experience of setting up my other listings, so it's like, okay, like I took down some like tips as to what my photographer did in the past. I'm not the best editor, but obviously I'm gonna edit these photos, get the best natural lighting, get the angles, do all that. So you make it into a fun thing. I'm just gonna keep everything to the nitty gritty, but you guys feel free to drop in the comments things that you want me to go more in depth on, because I'm just touching the surface on these bullet points. So bedding, like the blankets, the pillows, the linens, that could cost you, I would say, from around like $400 to $500, because like it depends on, of course, how many beds you're offering. I'm offering 3 beds, and I like to also have backup sheets, of course, if one gets damaged, ruined, stained, to have a back-to-back-to-back turnover and not worry about the laundry. Like, oh my gosh, the laundry wasn't done for that last day, so now we don't have enough. Always want backup, and I learned that the hard way. Like, hard way. Linens, no, you don't have to buy the super expensive linens. Don't need to get IKEA linens. Like, I go to Goodwill for linens, I go to Walmart for linens, I go to Amazon.com for linens. Security, for like, I got security cameras, I got the keypad doorknobs, I got better lighting, outdoor and indoor. So that cost me around $500 right there. The time that I put in. You know, if you're going to be putting in time for like little touch-ups, and I highly recommend walking throughout the house and seeing what needs a little life, a little to just brighten up. So I had to do some caulking, like I repainted the fridge, I did some like touch-ups that they take time. And so I like took out like a day or two of my schedule to just dedicate on like just upgrading the spot and making it even more functional and more convenient for travelers. Oof, deep clean. Deep clean is very important. You're going to need to either pay a cleaning business for a deep clean or do it yourself. And when I mean a deep clean, I mean, depending on the condition, you know, if it's a brand new apartment, then like it's not gonna need anything crazy. But at the end of the day, you know when a deep clean has been done. You know when the walls have been cleaned. You know when every single corner has been cleaned. Like a deep cleaning is basically touching every single thing from the ceilings to the floor. So everything's gonna be polished, cleaned, white. You don't gotta worry about any odor being left from the past, any old residue, any old cobwebs, nothing like that. Deep cleaning is essential for you to have a great base to start for your first day. Things accumulate very quickly. You start with a deep clean, you start with everything clean, and then you can notice high traffic areas that accumulate a lot of dust and need to be cleaned more frequently than other places. So always start with a blank slate with a deep clean. That's going to cost you from, depending on, of course, the size of your listing, from like $400 to $500. Buying like the supplies, paper towels, like the supplies for your storage room, paper towels, toilet paper, paper plates, soaps, like the body towels. Oh my goodness, there's like you're going to spend a lot on like coffees, snacks. I just highly recommend you buy everything in bulk. I remember when I recently went for my last run to get the supplies, I spent around like $400. That wasn't getting everything. And I'm talking about not only the foods, but let's say you have like a back to back to back to back stay. Let's say you have a stay that's hosting 6 people. Things run quickly. You always want to make sure that you have backup. So you're not going like from a stay to stay and you ran out of things and now you have to go make a crazy run, because that's also time. You have to spend your time going into the store, doing the shopping, bringing in a bag, making sure you do all of that before the next person checks in. So time is huge when it comes down to just preparing and having a good amount of backup. Setting up the listing on the actual platform and going live. It's a skill that you're going to have to want to, if you want to learn it, you're gonna have to go through the process anyways of getting it set up. But from my experience of already setting up 3 listings, I was able to do it pretty quickly with the structure that I already have in place, and I already knew who I was targeting. I already had the pictures, I edited them. So getting the listing set up, you want to make sure that you're very thorough on your listing, you're very detailed, you take time to make it personal. You want to answer questions through the details that you provide on your listing so that you're not getting bombarded with all these questions that could easily be answered or not even have to be asked if you include that information in your listing details. That also saves you time to not have to be messaging people back and forth on basic questions like, hey, do you have parking? Hey, do you provide this? Hey, what's in the kitchen? Things like that. Also, your strategy when you're setting up your listing, like your pricing strategy, how much you're going to be offering, if you're going to be offering discounts, setting up your own profile. So it does take time setting up your first listing, but I mean, the first step is just to get it going. Just start, just set it up. And as long as it's live and it's out there, then you could always improve. Always, I recommend to just put it out there, because you could really stress yourself out and like want to add all these things and compare it to all these other listings or compare it to your competitors. Just do your best and put it out there. That's my best advice when you're first going live on your first listing. Overall, about this whole journey, I would definitely say you got to expect to put money in when you're starting out to do rental arbitrage. So I spent around $3,000 getting started, and that includes the first month's rent. When it comes down to the numbers, I want to be completely transparent with you guys so that you could actually see the successes, the fails, if it's worth it, if it's not worth it. So far, I have 7 bookings. The first bookings that came, I was like, ooh, let's go, so excited. They loved it. They didn't have any complaints. They said that it was clean, it was cozy, and it was very convenient. And also they gave me 5-star reviews, which was beautiful. I got those bookings on the first day that I went live, the first 2. Throughout this 1 week that's been live, I have 7 bookings in total, which I started on the 15th of the month. Until the last day of the month, I made $1,820. So the rent was $1,500. That extra $300, 300 and something change that I made, as a surplus, that's going into the initial investment. So I won't say that like I broke even though I made the amount of the rent, great. But I want to be able to break even with the 3K that I initially invested. And then from there, everything else could be considered as profit. For next month, I'm already projected to make $1,000, and it's not close to even being fully booked. So my trajectory with how much I'm planning on making for this short-term rental, next month what I have projected to make is, let's say I'm going to be doing $140 a night. $140 a night, and I book it out 25 nights in a month. And so that means that I'll be walking away with $3,500. With the cleaning fees, I charge $80. So let's say I do 10 cleanings throughout that month. I will be making $800 off of that. So gross, I'll be walking away with $4,300. I have my rent, which is $1,500. So minus that, I'll be walking away with $2,800, which I will be reinvesting into my rental leasing business that I currently have. I have a whole bunch of apartments that's waiting for me, and so that's my plan. But I'm projecting to be making around like $200 a night every night that is booked. Just for the start, I like to offer discounts. I like to just get reviews and build up the rapport of the listing, and then from there, once everyone sees the value and the quality, zoot it up when the demand goes higher, which it will in the coming months of the holidays and family visiting and traveling professionals and all that stuff. So I will keep you guys posted absolutely on how my progress goes. So how much money am I planning to make with this short-term rental for these next upcoming months, and how I basically projected my numbers, going over like the bare minimum, going in like worst case scenario, like you only book like a very small amount, you book for a small price per night, and that's just because the demand really isn't there and because it didn't really work out the way that I thought it was going to. And then I'm going to talk about ideally how much money I'm planning on making, what I observed in the demand, and so how I worked out those numbers and the best case scenario. Experience, how I like to do it is I start out with lowballing. Like I project that I could be making per night 170, 180 a night. And this is aside from the cleaning fee, so we're just talking about the night fee. That's the ideal situation, but let's say for some reason it's not in high demand, I had to lower my numbers to make it more attractive and appealing to potential bookers. So I'll be doing it for 140 a night. Cool. And I only have a 60% occupancy rate. That means that I only booked for like 18 nights out of the 30 days in that month. So that means that I will be making $2,520 just off the nightly rates. Keep in mind that I have the $1,500 rent that also includes the utilities. I don't know if I mentioned that before. I'll be walking away with like $1,500 for my earnings. Then aside from that, I would have $800 that I would say I could collect from the cleaning fees, because I charge $80 for the cleaning fees. And if I do 10 turnovers, for example, because I don't do all of them, sometimes my other cleaners will do them. If I collect 10 of that, that's $800. So we're looking at about like $2,300 that I'll be walking away with that month on a more so like worst case scenario basis when we're looking at those numbers. But if we're talking about the ideal kind of bookings that I'm planning on having, I'm going to charge around 170 to 180 a night. I do like to offer promotions to make my listing appear higher on the search. So if I do a 10% like discount, for example, let's say I just have it for $165 a night with the discount, because originally it was like around 180 whatnot, and I'm at 80% occupancy. That means that I'm booked 24 nights out of that month, which is very common for me with the experience I have in my other listings that's in the area. So that means that 165 a night, 24 nights, I'm going to be making $3,960. And then I have the $800 I project for my cleaning fee, which is going to be altogether $4,760. That will be my gross earnings. You're going to subtract the $1,500 That's going to be for the rent and the utilities. And I'm going to be walking away with about like, what is that, like 3,200? Correct me if I'm wrong, but like that's like really quick maths that like we're going with it. So that's what my projections are going to be looking like. And I hope that this makes sense to you guys. If you guys have any questions, if you're doing this yourself, please leave it in the comments below. I love to see other people doing this kind of things. Give me your ideas, give me what you would do differently, or any experiences that you've had. And if you're on this journey with me with this rental leasing, short-term rentals, all of that, good luck and kudos to you. I know the work that you had to put in. This really is a business. And I'll see you next time.